Well, hello. Whoever might be listening to this, hello. I'm quite new at all this, and so I think introductions are in part of the way. The name that I will be going by is Tragic Black Rabbit, but feel free to call me TBR or TB Rabbit. Now, a little bit about myself. I am African American. I'm 21 years old. Live in the suburbs. And, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. To be completely honest. The purpose of this recording is to sort of a prequel to the podcast that I will be making from now on. This first one was made at approximately 1 o'clock in the morning. So, just give you the frame of mind of like what to expect. Well, let's see, what else can I tell you about myself? I'm bisexual. I like anime. I love anime, actually. Me and my friends like to talk about anime a lot. So that might be a topic on the podcast at some point. What else to say? You see, this is the hard part. This is good. This is why I need this sort of talking prequel in order to just flesh out the empty silence. And also practice me getting out the ums and the other stuff. So, what to talk about? Well, I guess the thing to talk about, since this is the first one, is talk about beginnings. When I'm making this podcast, this episode, I should say, is one I make after a very traumatic experience has happened in my life. For some point or another, I might tell you guys that, but just know that it has changed how I view just life in general. I will tell you this, it was a life and death situation, and it did make me realize that I'm not happy with what I'm making now. I decided to make this podcast in order to give myself a legacy of some sort. Even if it's a bad legacy, or even if no one else hears it, at least it gives me the peace of mind that I didn't just disappear off the face of the earth. It's hard to start anything and keep that habit going. It's very difficult. I find myself, at least personally, having trouble keeping up promises to myself. One day I'll start working out, but give me 3 days and I'll completely forget what my promise or conviction was. I'm hoping this isn't the same thing, so that's why I want to present it to people. That's why I want to present something to people, because if I show people this, if I put it out there, I know I'll finish it because it's not just about me. I guess you could say that the event that occurred was the beginning of a new me, a me that wanted to hold myself more accountable for the promises I make. And I think this is a step towards to hold myself towards these promises. So, the podcast will be taken Sunday nights. It would seem like would be the best night, Sunday nights. And you can expect them to be online by at least Monday. This one's just an introductory, so I guess it doesn't really matter. If anyone does listen to this or actually sit through all this mess, if you feel free to leave in the comments any suggestions or ideas of topics I could cover, because right now it's just I want to make something and I don't know what else to make. I forgot to mention this. I am a writer. Like, I write in my spare time. That's what I do. That's my enjoyment. Um, I guess I could talk about that. That'd be interesting. I've been wanting to talk about it for a while, but I haven't really found the right people to talk about it to. Maybe this will allow me to bring it to a wider audience. The current story I'm working on is about a voodoo priest, a Hugan, as their official name is, and it sort of is a supernatural city story. Like, it's where supernatural creatures and humans mingle and live together, and how that affects and how life is in that world, and how that affects the humans that live in that world, as well as the creatures who now are being brought out to light. I find this story very interesting because I don't mean for it to be racially charged, but it definitely does feel like it is at times. As an African American, I do find that I tend to write more about African American characters, and I don't know if that's just myself or if that's just what I want my characters to be like. Growing up, I don't think I had a lot of African American characters in fantasy to look up to. I read a lot of books growing up. I read the Percy Jackson series. I read the Artemis Fowl series, 39 Clues. Alexander Crook was his name. Something. The Extraordinary Adventures of Alexander something. I forget. I forget it for the life of me. But I read those books, and a lot of those characters weren't like me. When I was at least when I was presented African American characters, it was always presented as their stories were realistic or historical or sports. It doesn't seem like there was a lot of African American characters in fantasy or sci-fi as main characters, I should say. They were always supporting characters or just best friends or something like that. And I feel like in my writings, I tend to make characters African American because I want I want to create a character that people look. I want to create a character that kids like me, who had trouble reading early on, to look up to, or to talk about, or to idealize, or put themselves in my world. I think the earliest realization that most of the characters that I read about weren't the same color as me was when I was playing with a couple of my friends. We were we were playing some sort of Star Wars based game. I don't know. It was very early on in my life, and I just remember this stuck out to me that we were given characters. Well, we gave each other characters, and we had a bunch of Lukes. We had a bunch of Anakins. We had a bunch of Obi-Wans, but I was only allowed to play Mace Windu. Not that there's anything wrong with the character. I love Mace Windu and all, but like being reduced to a secondary character when everyone else got to play as a main character, like Anakin, Luke, and or a cool character like Obi-Wan, and just I don't know. It's just always struck a chord with me. I always wanted to have a African American character I could look up to in fantasy. Maybe it's just my closed-minded eyes that I just didn't look out hard enough. But as far as I remember, there wasn't a lot of African American characters in fiction that I could really relate to. At least, yeah. Not that there's anything wrong with writing white characters or writing ethnically ambiguous character or racially ambiguous characters. It just seems like the medium is mainly dominated by either a white boy who discovers he's some sort of chosen one, or a white female who decides to stand up against the odds and all that. So that's the main reason why I chose. I always had an obsession with the supernatural and like fantasy. So I thought what better way to make my character than to make him African American as well as a Hugan, which is a voodoo priest. And I don't think voodoo really gets a lot of good representation. It's been called black magic, but if you actually look into it, it's quite very interesting. It's not a separate religion, believe it or not. It's a subversion of Christianity. No, not subversion. In addition to Christianity, subversion would be saying that'd be under it, but no, it's just another version of it. The history behind voodoo, which is what I read online. I'll have to find the sources if you guys would like. I don't know if you guys would. But from what I've read, the sources, the academic journals I've read, it's basically you have to think about it like this. Uh, back in Louisiana, well, back in slave times, you had these Haitian slaves and Haitian immigrants coming to Louisiana, being indoctrinated into the white American culture, which was mainly Christianity at the time. So what they did was they took their original spiritual beliefs and added Christianity to them. It's not that voodoo is black magic or something different. It's with Christianity. Voodoo is the basic thought that spirits are with us and that they're still around us and they watch over us. They're called luau. And there are some notable spirits, but there's some famous spirits like Baron Samedi. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing this way, but Ongo, the voodoo god of war and of weaponry in war. But there's also luau that are just your cousins, your family members, and that really struck a chord with me already. I always thought that no matter, especially since my grandfather and grandmother passed the same year, I always thought that they were looking over me. And so while writing this piece, it definitely struck a chord with me, having the idea that I'm never truly alone, that there are people, generations of people looking after me and wanting to wish the best for me. So I like the idea of using a Hougan rather than like a exorcist or a psychic, because that seems like it's one answer. With an exorcist, it's why are there spirits? Oh, because God says so. So for psychic, it's just like why are there spirits? There can be a scientific explanation, or it's just I'm a psychic. With a by using a Hougan character, I allow myself to broaden it, to broaden the specter of belief. It's not just Christianity that's right in my story. It's that all religions are right in with some way. There is an afterlife, but no one has seen it, or at least no one who's seen it has come back to say whether or not it's there or not. I don't know. I need to rephrase that. The spiritual nature of the world I'm creating in this book, which I don't know if in this story, I don't know if I'll make it a book yet, is that spirits spirits and the undead and supernatural creatures have the same problems as humans. They're worried about their mortality. They're worried about others. They're worried about their family. So I can give you a quick synopsis. So I have my main character is called Miles. So I have Miles. Miles is a Hougan who takes cases and works with wayward spirits usually. But I have Miles work with a spirit that doesn't really like what's the word I'm looking for? Isn't aware that he's dead and is going through the woes of being a spirit, of learning to be dead, while seeing how the death affects the ones he's held close to his life. So, oh shit, line. um, so I find Miles also as a character is a very not troubled character, but a very lost one. He sort of stands in the middle of a lot of things. I don't reveal this in my story yet, but his mother, the Hugan nature comes from his mother's side. His mother and his grandfather were both Hugans, while well, his father's side, which I haven't divulged, his father was a satanic worshiper or a cultist of some sort. I don't know what exactly I'm gonna do, but his father was on the opposite end, and not that that's a bad thing. It's just it will open your eyes. Well, not your eyes, but I just want to put in perspective that while yes, one thing might be viewed as bad, it's not necessarily bad. His father did care about him, and he was a cultist, and so Miles sort of goes in between this. His abilities are sort of stuck in between a limbo effect, where he has the Hugan nature of where he uses the Hugan's powers to communicate with the dead, but at the same time, he also has like this demonic influence on certain things. He doesn't really the human. He's not really. If he was just a Hugan, he could be still considered human. But because of his father's nature, he naturally has an aversity to humans. Mm. I don't know. I might scrap it. Like I said, I haven't wrote anything about his father yet. I just know for a fact that his father is some sort of, well, I don't know. I might scratch it. Now that I'm hearing it out loud, I don't know if I like it. See, this is what I mean. It's good to talk about this stuff. What else can I talk about? I don't know. Well, I guess since it's still introductory, I should tell you about. I have an obsession with history. I really like history. History to me is one of the greatest stories ever told. It's where everyone it's where everyone seems to matter. We often forget that it's not just names that make history, it's individuals, it's generations, it's people, it's a movement, it's movements. And in America at this time, we are going through a very treacherous and very dangerous series of movements. Not, hmm, I don't want to say dangerous, but it definitely is a what's the word I'm looking for? Volatile nature of where we are in right now. 2020 has not been an easy year, and I don't think I need to tell anyone that shit. um, 2020 is, yeah, it's been rough, and the added pressure of what's happening nowadays is not easy to deal with, along with COVID and all that. I find it very interesting, and I don't disagree with anything that's being done. I agree that Black Lives Matter. As African American, I stand wholeheartedly behind the message, but the rioting is what I just can't. It's not that I'm against protests or anything, but the rioting, the maybe it's because I haven't seen it firsthand, but I don't know. It's always exciting to live in the movement, but I'm not living in the movement. I'm living on side of the movement, and I don't know if I want to get involved or not. I went down to Richmond recently for my 21st birthday, and my I visited some family, and down there I saw what they did to the statues, and I saw how really bad it was down there. I didn't know a lot of what was going on. I haven't really been to a lot of southern cities. I'm not. I'm primarily from the northeast, So to see that the idea that they still had the Daughters of the Confederacy Museum was very jarring, and then just seeing it covered up because of what they did was very liberating. And seeing what they did to the statues and stuff like that, it definitely did feel good. But then just going down the street, it didn't seem like anyone really cared. I mean, not that, it just seemed like they were just going about their life, and it seemed weird. Not, yeah, I guess weird is the best way to put it. I went and when I was down there, I also went to the. I didn't go inside the Civil War Museum, but I did go across. I was outside of it, and if you've been down there, you know there's a long bridge from the one bank of the river to the next bank of the river where the African American. Wait, nah, sorry, where the Civil War Museum sits on the river or creek. I don't know what the river is. I forget what it's called. But I saw the bridge, and that bridge is a memorial to the once to the bridge that led the Confederacy supply lines from Richmond to the rest of the South. I didn't when I was there. I didn't know that Richmond burned. That the Confederacy burned down Richmond in order to keep it out of the Union's hands. And to me, that was. I only had one question in my head when I learned about it was why. I know the tactical reason why, but it amazes me that people still congratulate the Confederacy when and still think it as Southern pride. It was when it was only around for a couple years. Like they're holding I don't know what they're holding on to. If it's Southern tradition, then why not celebrate the Southern tradition that's good, the progress that you guys made? Maybe it's because I'm closed-minded. I'm fully aware to acknowledge that of my bias and my ignorance on the matter, but I just the idea that they would burn down an entire city, that they were willing to injure injure plenty of civilians over surrendering is just jarring to me. At that point, they had already lost the war. General Lee had surrendered, and the Allies were just marching. The Union was just marching to Richmond. It amazes me that they burned a city, especially in America, where we as a nation we need to heal rather than destroy anything. But I think bringing up the burning of Richmond is weird. The idea of the Confederacy burning Richmond leaves me with a bad taste, like they were sore losers. But I think what people often forget is that no one really won the Civil War. Yes, African Americans got freedom. Yeah, but that didn't. Yes, slavery was abolished, but it was still a while before African Americans were given equal rights. A long while. Just because they were free doesn't mean they're equal. And I don't know. Maybe this is why I like history, because it leaves me with a bunch of questions of how to fix this world, our current world. We have to learn from our mistakes, or we're doomed to repeat it. And I don't want the nation to split itself like it did, like in the Civil War. And what I'm seeing now is very similar, where you have two sides that are so opposed to one each other that they're not even willing to sit down and have a talk. We can't do that. If we want a better world for everyone, we can't act like they're the enemy. That they don't have intentions, or what they want isn't wrong. I support the Black Lives Matter movement because because black all lives matter. All lives can't matter if black lives don't. I've never agreed with a statement more. But we cannot forget that all lives matter. Not I fucked that up. All lives matter. All lives can't matter if black lives don't matter. And as an African American in America, I do not feel like my life matters at all. I don't feel like I'm at risk, but I do feel that if I were to be killed and killed by a police officer, that my life would just be another statistic. If I were to be shot or gangbanged, I would just become a statistic. I don't feel like justice would be done for me. But it had to happen this year. I think nature of having the nature of COVID allowed us to grow as a nation. COVID is shitty, yes, but what it has done is pointed out two things. One, society society is backwards. We pay way too much to influencers when the people running who operate society day to day are the retail workers, or the restaurant workers, or the people who you see every day. And two, that black people has just have had enough. We've just been busy doing other things. Give us we give us time to relax and think when we realize that it's wrong. Well, we don't realize it's, but we get organized. I don't mean to get political. I'm actually very sorry for that. I got off topic. I was talking about history, but I just dove into the entire thing. I didn't mean to give my opinion. I respect those with different opinions. I love talking to those with different opinions. I love dissecting why they have that opinion. I don't like if I'm able to dissect why you have that opinion. I am able to respect your opinion. I might not agree with it, but I'm able to respect it. And I feel like nowadays a lot of people don't have that mentality. It's either you share my opinion or you're an enemy, and I don't feel that. I feel like we should still come up with a compromise, but maybe there are some things we can't compromise on. Maybe my ignorance is too great. I always assume that I'm the ignorant one rather than the other person because I don't know their lives. I haven't lived their lives. Oh, sorry. I got distracted by something. Um, well, this was supposed to be an introductory, but it sort of turned into me talking about what I'm writing, to me talking about history, to me talking about the movement, to me talking about recent events. And I don't know. Like, mm, this podcast is this first episode is definitely hot garbage, but then again, this is my first time doing it. I don't have anyone with me. I do plan to have on guests either other people I want to talk to, have a discussion with, might be my friends, or might be actual people who know their stuff, people in their field. I haven't really got a direction. I just know I want to do this. Like I said, I want to leave something behind that my niece and nephew can listen to, or at least see what I've done in case I don't make it to see them growing up. It's scary living in the world currently, and I can't be more scared for my life. But I have to live day to day. That's the best way I can live. At least now. Well, I think I'll be signing off for this first sort of episode 0, I think I'll call it. Again, if you guys actually care, feel free to leave comments if this blows up at all. I highly doubt it will. No, I only got like 3 subscribers, and I'm pretty sure I know all of them. If YouTube decides to be an asshole, then I'll just move this to a different platform. But for now, you can find me on YouTube. What else? Oh, I need a title. Yeah. If you do end up watching this and want to suggest a title, I think I'm going with Rabbit Hole, but then again, I think that's too close to Down the Rabbit Hole by that one other YouTuber, and I definitely don't want to step on any toes. I just sort of something with the rabbit motif. Anywho, this is TB Rabbit signing off. I hope you have a pleasant day, evening, or whatever time you're listening this to. I want to thank you for listening to this, my ramblings. And I hope to see you guys next time. Peace.